welcome to another episode of GameQ. I am one of your two hosts, Jason.
I am the other of two hosts, Wesley.
And today we're going to be talking about Shenmue III. Yes, we're going to be talking about the sailors and where we can find them.
Let's get sweaty.
So, yeah, if you're not familiar with the format of the show, we kind of do the first bit, just talking about what the game is and general thoughts about it and give a kind of review. And then we break down into a bit of more spoiler discussion for the latter half or 2/3 or however long it ends up being.
We will warn you before the spoilers begin.
Yeah, it's a little bit more in depth on what our specific thoughts are. So skip that if you haven't played the game or if you don't really care that much about spoilers. Yeah. So yeah, I guess we'll just sort of jump into this one, right? So this one is the third game in the long-running Shenmue series.
Very long running.
Very long-running Shenmue series. First game came out on Dreamcast like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
The second game came out on Xbox. I never actually played that one until they did a remaster, like re-release a few years ago with Shenmue 1 and 2 together on the PlayStation 4 and PC, I think. It's kind of, if you've never played Shenmue, it's kind of a hard series to explain. It's sort of this like unique
walking simulator of a game.
Not really a walking simulator.
It's really detective game.
Yeah, it's kind of three different types of games in one. It's like a detective game plus fighting game, like 3D fighting game plus
slice of life.
Yeah, life simulation. And I think since this game has come out, there's only really been one other series that I think has tried to do the same exact genre, and that's Yakuza. Also by Sega. Definitely felt like I don't actually know the development history of Yakuza, but if you've played any of the Yakuza games, it's definitely the Yakuza games are certainly a like spiritual successor. It feels like
it's very
Shenmue was
heavily
trying
inspired by Shenmue. Clearly,
yeah. They're a bit more. They're more gamey than Shenmue is.
Yeah, they take more of a here are very well defined quests and more combat mechanics.
Yeah, there's more constant story.
They're more action filled, whereas Shenmue sort of basks in the mundane,
right,
throughout various parts of the game.
So I guess to describe a little bit more detail, I guess the Shenmue games, you're playing as this guy Ryo Hazuki, whose father was killed in the first game. Oh yeah, that's him behind me. If you can see, I always told the wrong way. Ryo Hazuki, his father died in the first game, was murdered by a mysterious Chinese man called Londi. And yeah, he's very, very cool. He's got like a scar on his face. He's a cool badass dude. And you spend the whole first game trying to find out who this guy is and where he's gone so you can get revenge. So it's one, and by the third game, we still have not gotten revenge.
Yes.
We're basically trying to track him down. So the first game takes place all in Japan. You are exploring your local suburb and port city nearby, trying to find clues on who this Londi guy was, where did he go. Eventually you find out he's taken some strange mirror from your father and ran off to China. You find out that there's a second mirror, and these mirrors are like part of a set. There's like a Phoenix mirror and a Dragon mirror. Londi took the Dragon mirror, but couldn't find the Phoenix mirror, and you go find the Phoenix mirror in your like basement. And use that you're trying to like, go find people who know about it. Because you don't really know what these mirrors do or why Londi would kill your father for it. Second game takes place all in China.
All in Hong Kong.
Mainly in Hong Kong.
Oh, yeah, almost all in Hong Kong.
You spend like the first half of the game in Hong Kong proper, and then you move into the walled city of Kowloon, which doesn't exist anymore.
Nope.
Oh yeah, by the way, these games take place in the 90s
80s
or 80s. Sorry, late
I think
80s.
It starts 86. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so it's all late 80s Japan, late 80s China,
Mhm.
or late 80s Hong Kong rather. And yeah, you spend the whole second game, searching for more clues on where exactly Lan Di went. You end up finding out that he went into this like small
Mining village.
Yeah, somewhere
Yeah.
deep in China.
Deep rural China.
Rural China. So you follow the clues there and find this daughter of a stonesmith, Shenhua, who is this other person in the background. And you kind of meet her and then go into her dad's cool mining cave and find some giant fucking sculptures of the dragon mirror and phoenix mirror,
magic torches that light themselves.
Yeah. And I guess it's all super spoiler for Shenmue 1 and 2, so whoops.
Yeah, the statute of limitations is kind of up on that.
Yeah. And then you kind of sit there for 15 years
waiting for the third
while
game
we wait for the third game to come out.
Yeah.
So that kind of catches you up. The actual gameplay of the games is mostly just like you kind of have like a day-night cycle. You wake up in the morning, you go out and try to find clues, and that's mostly involves like talking to people, interacting with folks around town, getting into fights. You get into a lot of fights. It's a very martial arts movie.
Yeah, I feel like your goal every day is to like learn something that you didn't know at the beginning of the day.
Yeah,
like get a little bit of information going forward.
Often you'll find like, okay, this person, like, you know that the guy got away in a black car. We need to go find if anybody knew about the black car. So
we'll
you go
spend the whole day asking people if they've seen a black car.
Yeah, and eventually somebody's like, oh yeah, I think
it comes around here at 5 p.m. on Thursdays.
Yeah, so then you wait until Thursday. Yeah. Oh shoot, I have to sneeze, but I'll try not to. Excuse me. Sorry.
Happens to the best of us.
Yep.
But yeah, you'll go around town, interact with all of the locals, and writing down notes in Ryo's ever handy little notebook that he carries around, and records all of the minutiae of things that he finds out. And I think what's interesting is that there's a lot of different ways of getting the same information frequently. Like, multiple people will know a certain fact you need. You need not talk to all of them. So there's sort of multiple, I hesitate to say paths through the game. It's not really that, but there's lots of like different ways you might stumble across the information that you're looking for.
There's often, many paths to the same story beat. And that all kind of... and so we have all of that where you're kind of trying to solve this mystery. And then we also just have like all the mundane shit that you can do, because what they really went for is like they really went hard on trying to be a life sim.
Yep.
I'm gonna switch.
And
hold on one second. Switch my mic to Omni mode just in case that matters.
And in all of the games, they've made a very like true to life recreation of a very small piece of area. Like in the first game, it's just the town of Yokosuka, like the port and the like downtown district.
Yeah, and like the small
little
slice of
going up to
neighborhood
your
that
house.
your house is in.
And it feels like it has the appropriate population density. Like, yes, there should be, this many people around. Every person is like sort of unique in their own way. Even though a bunch of them are sort of canned NPCs, they all have like their own, like they've voice acted the same line multiple times across different characters.
Yes.
So everyone seems unique, even if like they're all sort of telling you the same thing.
Yeah, they went for like a really hardcore, like everything is voice acted. You can interact with like lots of weird things in the world. Like there's vending machines that you can order drinks from. It's not useful in any way. But you can order drinks, and you can use capsule machines, like spend your spare money on capsule machines,
which have no real purpose,
at least in the
first game, and not like tons of purpose later on. But
and it just has this kind of this interesting pacing for a video game where things go I mean, it kind of goes at your own pace.
And it intentionally slows you down as well. Like, there's a
Yeah,
lot of times where you need to do something, but you can't really do it until the next day. So you're like, well,
you have some
how
time
will
to
I fill my
kill.
time today? I guess I'll go to the gambling den, or I'll go get me some capsule toys,
Or go to the arcade and hang out, or go talk to some people. Like, there's lots of stuff you can do in the world. It's just kind of, it's nothing. It's kind of like playing it.
Yeah.
It's like a weird cross between like Animal Crossing, which I don't think you've played at all.
No, but
and an
action
adventure
revenge
game.
quest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, third game in the series, Shenmue III. That's what we're here to talk about.
All of these things still apply.
Yeah, basically all these things still apply. I think one of the main things about the original is that it's really weird and quirky, and has like really bad voice acting
Yes.
in a way that's just like really iconic.
Yeah, it's very compelling. Like the same way that House of the Dead has really iconic bad voice acting.
Yeah, if you've played
This
House of the Dead
has-
2, that's got some like that has some amazing voice acting and like great lines, and they're all just like really terrible.
Yep.
And you're like, how did you find people to voice these lines with a straight face? Was this intentional? I don't think it was.
Well, not intentionally bad, but yeah, no.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
And the Shenmue 1 and 2 are bad in a different way. But yeah,
No, I
iconically...
think they're bad in that same kind of way where it's like it kind of feels like they got people off the street to do voice acting for all of the roles.
And it seems like the different characters who have having a conversation, that they weren't doing their lines in the same room, so they're not reacting appropriately to like the tone of voice of the line that the previous character just said.
Yeah.
So you get some things that are just like very discongruent.
But there's also the weird things like clearly whoever was the voice director, and we're talking about the English version. Whoever was the voice director in the game was really gung-ho about everybody pronouncing Ryo as Ryo.
Yes.
Like with the, I don't know what this...
Yeah, anytime there's like a Japanese word in Shenmue, they like make sure that they pronounce that correctly, even if none of the rest of the line like
makes sense or
is well delivered or anything. So the director had a very particular focus in mind.
Hey Ryo! Yeah, there's a lot of
like this Jamaican guy might otherwise be like kind of weird and say things strangely, but by God, can he say Ryo?
Yeah. So the weird kind of amazing thing is that 15 years later, so Shenmue 3 was like basically not going to happen except for Kickstarter. I was a backer of it. I don't even remember what level I backed it at, but I'm like, I need to have this game. And somehow, 15 years later, they've managed to keep the same
spirit of Shenmue
in terms of like the kind of weird, awkward voice acting, the like. Shenmue 1 and 2 have very clunky controls if you played them. Shenmue 3 keeps the kind of awkwardness of the controls without feeling bad.
The controls actually feel fine.
They feel better. It's definitely better controls than the first two games, but they still have some kind of awkward...
yes, things like hold down trigger to run.
Right.
It's a very interesting idea. But it works a lot better in 3 than it does in like 1 and 2.
Right.
The mechanics of fighting, I guess, were pretty similar across all the games.
They do change. I think the first game has like really bad fighting. It's really kind of clunky and loose. The second game I think is a lot tighter, but I feel like you don't actually have a lot of time to practice it in the second game.
Sure.
The third game actually, there's a lot of stuff in 3 where you get access to like sparring partners to like practice your moves to train them.
And it's a very martial arts movie sort of thing of like, well, if you're going to get good at this, you're going to have to practice it.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not just going to give you like a strong skill. Like, I want to see you use the skill like 100 times.
Yes.
Before it'll actually be good.
So you spend a lot of your time, just spare time is just like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll train.
And it's the kind of thing that, and it's pretty against modern game design to be like, why are we making the player just do this thing?
You just kind of sit there with the controller, rolling your fingers across the buttons in the same way. Like, 30 to 100 times.
Yeah, we spent a good like 10 minutes, doing this skill.
X circle triangle, X circle triangle, X circle triangle, X circle triangle.
And
But
they make it work because it fits really well with this like, karate or kung fu style narrative of like you have to put in this practice and like nothing comes easily.
yeah. And somehow it feels like kind of better than the first game in that regard, because the first game you did do some training, but we were just kind of doing it in the dojo by yourself, or you were saying, let's get sweaty in the parking lot and practicing there. But here you actually have like you have like a lot of like friends that you meet that want to train with you and stuff like that. So they keep a lot of the spirit of that. Oh, but what I was going to say is that they somehow managed to keep the voice acting.
Yeah, so they got good voice actors.
So they got the original voice actor for Ryo back.
Yep.
That was like, that one's key.
It's very important.
It'd be very weird to play this game without his voice.
Yeah.
I forgot his name.
I
should remember.
I can't think of his name. I want to say it's like Chris something, but I'm not even sure if that's right.
Maybe.
But yeah, they got the original voice actor for
they got the original voice actor for Ryo, and that's super important. I don't know if they got the original voice actors for many of the other characters that returned.
It's okay.
But it's fine. But they get like actual like what I would consider like
A-tier voice actors.
Yeah, A-tier voice actors, people who voice characters from like
Three Houses,
Fire Emblem Three Houses, and like a bunch of other random like very modern games.
Yeah,
They're all
Persona,
there's some Persona voice actors in there. I think I heard some Johnny Young Bosch.
Yeah,
he's like one of the first characters you meet in 3. If you like voice actors, there's a lot of popular voice actors are in this game for some reason.
Just playing bit parts.
Yeah, just playing random characters.
The bodyguard at a casino.
Yeah, and they've all taken the care to mimic that weird Shenmue prosody. They all sound like bad voice actors, even if you know that they're good voice actors. It's so perfect.
It's really important to keep this part of the charm, or the game actually would have felt worse.
Yeah. It's one of those games where like, no, I wouldn't want them to like update the feel too much, because part of the appeal is that it is weird and quirky and kind of clumsy in a way, but it's like an ugly dog game. It's like part of the charm is that it's ugly.
I saw him run up the avenue.
Yeah.
Rio's like, okay.
I see.
End of conversation.
There's a lot of I see. Yeah, that's a lot of canned dialogue. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a weird kind of quirky game. The fighting, I think, is better than 1 and 2. Yeah, the fights are weird. We played on hardest, right?
We played on hardest. That was reasonable.
It was kind of reasonable. You get kind of dunked on in the beginning of the game.
Yeah, you really do.
It feels like Ryo is like,
you forgot all the moves from 1 and 2. Like, god damn it. But after a bit of you train him up, and now he's like, not bad.
Yeah, he's like, he actually got to be like actually pretty decent. We did find some like maybe degenerate moves.
Moves are great. Just like knock this guy over, he's on the ground, kick him.
Yeah, there's a lot of sweeping people and kicking them multiple times while they're down.
But yeah, we do what we have to.
Yeah, I don't know, I think no fights were as intense as some of the like.
2 had some hard fights.
2 had some really cool hard fights at the end of the game that were maybe a little bit like controller breaky.
Sure.
Like,
last boss is hard, and some of the bonus fights are very hard.
Yeah. But 2... Oh, sorry, 3...
Yeah, 3 was all fairly reasonable.
Everything was like... Fights were like
you had to have some
decent.
skill.
Yeah, you had
to
you had to try.
Thinking about updates, though, besides... So, while they've kept all of the voice acting, and all the same, like, sort of prosody, both better voice actors, they have updated the visuals, however, quite a lot.
Oh, yes. The characters still look weird. Some of the characters still look bizarre.
I mean, you can see. I mean, you can. Well, if you're watching and not listening, you can see Ryo and Shenhua over here.
Yeah, I think they did a good job with Ryo and Shenhua. Some characters just look.
I think it mostly looks
creepy.
okay. Yeah, not too bad with the character design.
But I think the environment design is really good.
Yeah, and that is okay to update because it was never like, oh, it's funny that the environments are bad in 1 and 2. In fact, they're very detailed. But because it's like meant to be so realistic, in 1 and 2. Like in 3, they updating the graphics just makes it even more realistic.
Yes.
So it actually really helps with like the thing that they're
Immersion,
going for.
yeah.
Immersion. That's the word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really good for that.
I guess downsides, I think stuff that I didn't quite like. I think the first part of Shenmue 3 does suffer a bit from
Being linear? Or...
yeah, being pretty linear. I thought Shenmue 1's pretty good about, like, they kind of just let you go at the beginning. Like, you have access to most of the first area.
That's true.
You don't get, like, there's no invisible walls that you need to turn around and go back just because. But I feel like in Shenmue 3, it seems like maybe there was some either late story changes or something where you're kind of set. So you start off in Guilin Village? Bailu Village, which is in the province of Guilin, I guess. Yeah. You start off in Bailu Village, and you're obviously, like, you're searching for stuff. I won't get into that yet, but
yeah, the area kind of opens to you very slowly.
Yeah, they kind of you kind of walk up a little bit up a path, and then Ryo's like, "No, I shouldn't go past here."
Yeah, no,
and you're like, around. "But why, though?"
Yeah,
and they kind of just use that trick a bunch.
Yeah, to really gate the area so that you don't get, like, too lost. I guess.
And there's some later parts too where they do this, where it's kind of arbitrary that they've decided to block you off because they couldn't think of a good reason to stop you.
It's not really necessary, I don't think.
It's not, especially when I think the game does have some. It does have parts where, like, I don't know, there's like a cart blocking the path.
Sure.
You can't go that way, and that seems more reasonable than Ryo, like,
having
stopping and saying, like, no,
I know what I'm looking for, but I know it's not up this hill.
Yes. And then of course it turns out to be up the hill. You just had to do
someone's told you that it's up the hill. Now you can go up the hill.
So there's a little bit of that. I think the mystery is a little weak in the first half. I think it gets better in the second half. There's a location change in the game. Once you change locations, I think it's quite a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the scenario writing in the first part is, like, a little bit odd. I don't get into that right now.
Yeah, there's a little bit of retconning as well, because 15 years later they decided that maybe some things in the story that they thought were going to go one way, they've decided to go a completely different route on. The characters are all quite good.
I
really like Shenhua. For a character that has, like, almost no story impact, at least in the prior game. Like, she seems super important, but she's not so important.
Yeah.
At least not yet.
Not yet. Wait for Shenmue 4.
She just felt like a nice person who was interesting.
She's very kind and yet has, like, a little bit of a trolley side.
She's very sheltered, so you get to, like, talk to her. You spend a lot of every evening you kind of come back to her and get to talk to her about your day or about what your life was like in the prior two games.
And so you tell her about, like, city living, and she tells you about living in the small village, and you kind of compare and contrast over multiple days. So.
Yeah, it was a cute way to do, like, hey, remember this thing that happened in Shenmue 1 or Shenmue 2? You get to, like, explain it to her and, like, remember as a player.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cool stuff like that. All the characters all had a lot of heart. It's just I enjoyed all of that. I think the comic could have been a little stronger.
There's only some memorable people.
Yes. There's a lot of memorable cutscenes, I think.
Yeah, actually, some of the cutscene design is, like, actually quite good. Yeah. Some of the most, like, dynamic stuff in the game happens in, like, little bits of cutscenes.
Yeah, this for the series that invented QTEs.
Yes. Quick time events.
Yes, the button you press during an active cutscene. There is a little bit of kind of timing weirdness. I think the controls are a little bit odd.
Some of the QTE timing actually is a little bit strange in this.
But they put in quite a lot of funny failure conditions. Like, if you fail a QTE, something silly often happens.
It's very much worth failing, like, every part of every QTE sequence just to see what all the failures look like, because some of them are excellent.
Yes. But yeah, I think this is probably a good point to
Yeah, we can
just
go
give
into our
give our
scores
review
for
scores.
this, which is tricky for this game.
Yeah, so this is a weird one to rate because it is like the third in a series, and
Yeah,
if you haven't played Shenmue 1 and you haven't played Shenmue 2, you should not play this game.
no,
Just straight up, just don't.
you won't really understand why you're playing this game.
Yeah, I don't. They do have a movie in the game that kind of catches you up on what's
but you
going
certainly
on.
won't appreciate it.
Yeah, you've like missed most of the story. Like go back
Yeah.
and play Shenmue 1.
Yeah,
Shenmue
much
1
so.
to me is a 4. Like everybody should try Shenmue 1. You might not like it. You might love it.
Yeah, you might
But
think
at
it's
least-
like literally the worst game and wonder why anyone would possibly play it.
But at least I think you'll have like an interesting experience because it's a unique game and nothing else is quite like it.
Yeah, agreed.
So for this one, so I'm kind of rating this as if you had already played Shenmue 1 and 2, which is kind of my baseline. So I'm gonna say that this is, for me, it's a 3. It's borderline a 4. I think this is worth playing. I think if you played Shenmue 2 and were like, okay, I think I'm sort of all right with the series. Like, if you're kind of on the fence about continuing,
Yeah, you don't have to force yourself.
you don't have to force yourself. I don't think there's
You'll know
anything
exactly what you're getting into.
Yeah, I think Shenmue 3 it's more like Shenmue 1. I think it's better than Shenmue 2 on it's kind of hard to say. I like the environments and the scenario a bit more in Shenmue 3. I like a few of the mechanics more in Shenmue 2. It's a mix. But yeah, I don't think there's anything that's like, if you were about to lapse off of Shenmue 2, like you have to come back for Shenmue 3. I think it's probably okay. But chances are, if you play through all of Shenmue 2, you're pretty diehard anyway. So
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So that's my
Yeah, I think very, very similarly for me. I will also say a 3, conditioned on you having played the previous games. It's very interesting to see what they've done in a modern Shenmue game. We're like intentionally fighting, the last 15 to 20 years of game design to like, make sure like, okay, there's still some things that you just wouldn't do in a modern game, and so it's interesting to see that in a modern game really intentionally to like keep that same kind of feel. They do such a good job of keeping the Shenmue feel in this game.
Right.
Conversation's just like the most hilarious thing. It's like kind of, I feel like the main reason why I recommend people play Shenmue is just to like hear these excellent conversations.
Yeah, like if you're a fan of the Shenmue 1 quotes, like,
and I was feeling down. Like, sorry.
you'll enjoy the just kind of weird, beautiful awkwardness that is Shenmue 3's conversation system.
It looks really nice.
It does look really nice.
Yeah, it looks great. Music is pretty good throughout.
Oh yeah, actually the music's really good. There's quite a lot of motifing going on.
Yeah, actually.
They play the heck out of the Shenmue like theme.
Yeah, it's all over the place.
Yeah, it's definitely like all over the game.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of good music. Everything's kind of nice and catchy. It just feels good. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a very calming game for a revenge quest.
Yeah,
it's very slow.
Like it does ramp up towards the end.
Yeah. But yeah, if you like
perhaps
kung
more
fu
so than
movies,
the other games.
if you like the kind of feel of kung fu movies, where like where a hero has to go and spend a bunch of their time training before, like they try to fight the bad guy and they get way overpowered and they have to go spend all their time training so that they can finally have the skills and like the inner strength necessary, like learn important life lessons along the way. Then it's very much the same idea throughout all of the Shenmue games.
Right.
So, yeah, if you like that.
I will. There is, I guess, I kind of want to give a mild spoiler warning.
We can go to the spoiler section.
Oh, well, I want to give it here.
It was important for their decision.
Yeah, because it's a semi-important decision-making thing. The game, I was under the impression that perhaps this would be the final game in the series when we started, and that's not the case.
I already kind of said that earlier too, that no revenge.
Yeah, there is. You don't quite get to. You do. Yeah.
Yeah. There'll be a Shenmue 4.
There's a
We'll put it
yes,
that way.
we're hoping that there's a Shenmue 4 because
the
they
story
intentionally
will not be done unless there is a Shenmue 4.
yes, there is some cliffhanger ending. So be ready for that, expect that, but I think the game is still worth playing through that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'll be eagerly awaiting a Shenmue 4, I guess. I'm stuck on this hype train for the next 20 years, I suppose. So yeah, I think that'll do it for the spoiler section. So let's go ahead and start our spoilerful discussion.
But I don't know if there's actually like a ton for this.
Yeah, there's probably not much here.
A couple things, yeah. So about what we mentioned about pacing in the first part, or not pacing, scenario writing in the first part.
Yes,
is that you spend a bunch of time trying to track down these thugs who appear to be going after all the stonemasons in town. And Rio gets this list of people's names, and 2 people are like crossed off the list, and it's like the one person you're trying to find and someone else who's gone missing. And you go show the list around, people are like, oh, those are all stonemasons. You're like, oh, okay, that's interesting. They're hunting down stonemasons. And then Rio's like, I wonder what these people are doing. And someone else will be like, ah, those are all stonemasons. And he's like, oh, they're going after the stonemasons.
Yeah, you're like, Rio, we figured this out.
Yeah. And then that's like, oh, 2 names have been crossed off the list. They already got those stonemasons. That's why they're missing. You're like,
yeah, Rio.
Yes.
Rio and Shenmue, amazing detectives.
Yeah, for a detective game, our heroes, they are not the best detectives.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, there's that first part of the game. I do feel like they must have written it such that you do things in a different order and then kind of changed it to make it more linear later.
Yeah,
because some of that stuff feels like you could have you could have found the list, or you could have talked to some dudes and found something, but maybe they found that was too short.
Yeah.
Because you spend the first part of the game in Bailu Village before you go to Niawu, which is like the bigger city. And I think the story in Bailu Village, like, you spend quite a while there, but the story is pretty short. They don't have that much for you to do.
No, it's kind of like, we're gonna find these thugs and we're gonna beat them.
Yeah, the whole story is predicated around, like, Shenhua's father has gone missing. We need to find him to find out what happened to Landi.
Yeah.
Okay. So you find the thugs pretty quickly. You kind of fight them a little bit. They kind of kick your ass. You need to train to get stronger. Mm-hmm. You find them again.
They kick your ass again.
They kick your ass again. You now need to find a special move to beat them.
It's a cool training sequence.
It's a cool training sequence. I like it. It does have that kind of weird...
Fair question from chat. Are we sure this is padding and not just a critical lack of dialogue? The pacing is pretty similar to Shenmue 1 and 2. So yeah, I feel like it's intentional.
The thing that makes me think it was reordered for the purposes of padding is just the way the conversations are worded.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It does feel like you kind of go through like 3 or 4 different leads, and the game forces you to do those leads in that specific order.
Yeah. But
each of those leads reveals the same thing.
Right.
So it feels like the original intention was that you could find any of those 4 leads.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I think maybe they put together thought it was too short.
Yeah, my guess is that they kind of decided to rearrange it so that you had to do them in order and kind of block you off arbitrarily, like by saying things like, Shenhua's gonna go up ahead and search that area, you stay here.
Shenhua's like, I'm gonna go to the next settlement. And you're like, oh, I'll see you in a week, I guess.
Yeah.
But she literally means like up the stairs to the upper village.
Yeah, I guess that's what she meant. So there's a few things like that. It's mostly that opening section of the game that feels that way.
Yeah. I feel like the area once you change location sort of opens up more naturally.
Yeah, I think so. There's still a little bit of that. There's the one spot where you're like, we need to find information on this person in Niawu, and you try to go like past a certain area, and Ryo's like, I should finish asking the people around here.
Yeah,
and you're like, huh? And it turns out it is somebody who's like just past that, but you need to have talked to like one other person in the earlier area who tells you that it's this shopkeeper at a shop that's just beyond the point they've blocked. That was the other point that was a little bit like, okay, you guys didn't have a really good reason for why I couldn't continue past. When they're normally pretty good at it, so it's a little strange.
They certainly gated more in this game than they did in like 1 and 2. Especially more.
Oh, I mean, they gate a lot of stuff in one, but they just gated on like you wouldn't have any reason to ask person X question Y.
Oh, sure.
Because you just wouldn't know about it.
Sure.
But here they kind of maybe set themselves up for a little bit of. They kind of created problems that were a little too easy to solve, I guess. Sometimes.
True.
So it's
sometimes Rio gets really stuck on something like, oh, the guy you're looking for, we saw him go into the VIP lounge once. And Rio's like, I will never get to talk to him if I don't get into the VIP lounge. I'm sure the guy never leaves the VIP lounge. I need to get a VIP membership. There are no other solutions.
To be fair, it was fun getting the VIP. That was one of the better quests in the game, is getting the VIP access, because there are actually like 2 full paths, it seems, to getting VIP access. And
Rio's just very bullheaded about these sorts of things.
Yes, I do love Rio. He's such a he's an interesting character, because you do get the sense that he's like his whole revenge quest is not the best idea.
No.
He is sacrificing.
Probably just be in school and get a good job and be a good boy.
He is sacrificing his like life
and relationships
for doing this revenge quest.
Yeah.
That he's not super great at.
That's true.
There's a lot of good callbacks to Shenmue 1 and 2. Yeah, I know, we need to hurry up. There's a lot of good callbacks to Shenmue 1 and 2, I think.
I mean the international phone.
Yeah, you get access to like international phone calls in the second half of the game, where you can call characters from 1 and 2 and just catch up with them, see what life's been like, or tell them what's happened to you since then, and they'll give you like emotional encouragement. And it's super cute. I was like gonna cry.
Clips of the previous games playing while you're talking to them, so you get some like reference for like, oh right, I remember this person was, and, like our good moments from the past.
And similarly in the first part of the game, I think I already mentioned Shenhua. At every night with Shenhua, you can like talk to her a little bit about like stuff you did before. Any other kind of big things? The final sequences I think is pretty fun, if not quite silly.
Sure.
You kind of
it is fun though. You're right. Yeah.
You kind of get all of the friends you've made along the way.
Well, in this game,
plus Ren from Shenmue 2.
Yeah.
And you all kind of like
storm the castle.
Yeah, storm the castle as a team. It's super silly.
It's pretty cute.
But it is pretty well done. And then you get to the end and get to finally fight Lan-Di, and it's kind of a broken fight.
He's still strong.
He's still super strong. He kind of kicks her ass still.
Yeah.
And you don't really get to like fully fight him before they cut to be continued.
We gotta go. The castle's on fire and Lan-Di has escaped.
But it was a cool scenario. I liked it. Other stuff that's funny is just like the backer stuff. There's a lot of cute backer stuff in the game.
There's a lot of backer stuff. And it's pretty great. It also got like good emotional impact.
Yeah, it feels good to
messages from all these people who have also been waiting 18 years for this game.
Yeah, you like check into the hotel and you can like read the guest book, and it's all people who played, I guess, the demo version.
It's like 100 pages.
Yeah, there's 100 pages of just people leaving messages like, I grew up on this game, and I hope my children will play this.
The human impact.
Yeah, there's a lot of. I think Shenmue the series has kind of touched a lot of people across time, so it's cool to see that. It's just happy to see that it's around still.
Yeah.
I didn't clear the ratings from the screen. Whoops.
That's fine.
But I guess we should probably wrap this up. Unless there are any closing thoughts.
No, I think. It's very unique. If you like unique stuff, if you like game design, if you just like interesting experiences that are, not the mainstream, like, I hesitate to call it an indie game, because it's not really an indie game.
It's so weird. It's in a weird
spot.
Like
a AAA indie game. AAA art game.
Yeah, it's a game that shouldn't exist, yet somehow does. And
then they got a sequel somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then another one.
So, give it a shot. If you've never played the series, I think try it. It's weird. It's unique.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing like it.
It's true.
Yeah.
Except Yakuza a little.
Yeah, except Yakuza a little bit. Yakuza is probably the better game.
Yeah, Yakuza's great.
I do
too.
love Yakuza.
That's super good. Like unironically good, whereas Shenmue is more ironically good.
Yeah, I think Shenmue is a bit ironically good. But it's wholesome.
Yeah.
I like it. All right, well, I think that'll about do it for today. So let's call that one clear.